Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies. Mickey Loomis gave his postseason or end of the season interview, and he said a lot of things. And the biggest news, obviously, out of that was Dennis Allen will be the head coach of the Saints next year. I think we all figured that out already. I've been saying for the last 6 to 8 weeks that he's going to be the head coach of the Saints. The writing was on the wall. They weren't going to get rid of him after one season, just getting a job with the Saints. You can say it's fair or unfair, but it is what it is. Dennis Allen will be the head coach of the Saints next season. And I guess I'll jump into my thoughts on that. Do I think he should be the head coach of the Saints? Probably not. But I think it's bigger issues concerning the Saints other than the head coach. I know that may sound crazy because the head coach is obviously the head of the snake, and that's the most important coaching, position on the field. But I think for the Saints case, offensive coordinator is a much more needed position than head coach, because I honestly, with this team and with this defense, anybody can be the head coach. It's the offense that needs to work. This offense was putrid. The quarterback position was bad. Offensive line, was injured. Up and down, couldn't pick up blitzes, couldn't recognize blitzes. Receiver play was subpar for the most part, other than two guys. So this offense needs an entire revamp. We can't get Alvin Kamara going. So the offense is obviously the biggest issue with the Saints. Dennis Allen and the defense, let's be honest. As much as we all don't like Dennis Allen as a whole, as much as he showed he can't win in the NFL, he's showing one thing with the Saints. He can have an elite defense on that field. And if he can get somebody in to worry about the offense and he kind of steps away from the offense, get a guy that knows what they're doing, that can get the playmakers the ball, get some guys in some open field space, then the Saints can be a good team. Other than that, if we bring Pete Carmichael back, it's going to be the same old. We're going to win 6 to 8 games and not make the playoffs once again. Obviously, this closed the door on any Sean Payton, coming back to New Orleans, rumors or things like that. I said it was a 1% chance if it was to happen. It probably was never going to happen. They were never going to tell Dennis Allen to, be the defensive coordinator unless Sean comes back. That was just going to create too much, uncertainty in the locker room, too much division. It was just a crazy thing to do, a crazy concept to even consider, honestly. So Sean Payton obviously won't be the coach of the Saints next year. But since we're on Sean Payton, we can talk about Sean Payton. He's definitely getting a lot of looks. He's getting a lot of offers. He's getting interviews set up now. It's been 5 teams so far that's inquired about Sean Payton. You got the Panthers, the Colts, the Texans, the Broncos, and the Cardinals. That's all I know off the top of my head. Maybe some more has contacted him, and it hasn't become public yet. But 5 teams, 3 of them are only in the running. I don't think he wants to go to the Colts. I definitely don't think he wants to go to the Panthers. Those, situations are just not ideal. Not ideal for him right now. And from the Saints' point, Mickey Loomis did say some good things about the Sean Payton trade in his press conference. We'll start off with compensation. Mickey Loomis said that teams calling about Sean Payton are aware in general of what compensation it will take to get Sean Payton. So obviously, teams are probably going to ask the Saints first, hey, what y'all think, it'll take to get Sean Payton? And if they okay, that's not bad. We can, negotiate around that. Then they can talk to Sean Payton. That's a good thing. So whatever Mickey Loomis has set the bar at, if it's 2 firsts, 3 firsts, 10 firsts, 1 second, 2 seconds, who the hell knows what the Saints are going to ask for Sean Payton? But teams already know that. It's already known, what the Saints are asking for. Each team has different picks in the draft, so it's going to be different for each team. But I'm glad that Saints are already putting it out there what they're going to want for Sean Payton. Also, on Sean Payton news, Mickey Loomis did say if Sean Payton was to get traded and he wants to take somebody on this staff and take him with him, he can do it, but it's a caveat in that it cannot be a lateral move. And a lot of people are asking, what does this mean? Basically, let's just give you an example. If Pete Carmichael was the offensive coordinator, right, then he can't go to Sean Payton's staff and be an offensive coordinator. It has to be a raise. It has to be like assistant head coach or something like that. Or if Cody Burns is the receiver coach for the Saints and Sean Payton wants him, he can't go to Sean Payton's new team and be the receiver coach. He has to get an upgrade. So he has to be an offensive coordinator or something like that. So, the DB coach can't go to Sean Payton's team and be the DB coach. He has to be the defensive coordinator or something higher on the ranks. And then Loomis will allow them to get out of their contracts. Other than that, he's not going for it. Now, I agree with that. If you're going to try to poach off our staff, you better be giving them upgrades and pay raises and things like that. If you're going to just hire them and just try to take our entire staff with you, no chance, my boy. He did mention the cap as well in his exit interview, just because the cap is always going to be a big thing with the Saints. He said he wants to, get back to the middle of the cap. Basically meaning you don't want to start every offseason off, minus $60 million, but you also don't want to start every million off with $100 million, available to spend. He just wants to be middle of the road team. We have a little bit of money, not a lot, but you can make some moves that you want to and stuff like that. And I think that's the best place to be middle of the road in the cap. You don't want to be in the negatives, but you also don't want to, have $100 million or $90 million to spend, because you're probably not a good team if you're doing that as well. So getting back to the middle of the cap situation, I think that's just the perfect scenario for the Saints. He did say that Marcus Davenport and David Onyemata have a chance to come back, but that's not really saying anything. Everybody has a chance to come back. I mean, that's just obvious situation. If they want somebody back, they can kind of get them back. So hopefully we get this cap situation under control, and for years to come, not just for this year and next year. We got to get that under control so the Saints can have more flexibility, when it's time to have flexibility in the offseason. Also, he said no executives on the staff has been asked to be interviewed for any jobs, for GM jobs and things like that. So our front office probably will stay the same. Also, he did say this. A lot of guys are going to like to hear this. The Saints have no plans to blow anything up, and I think that's the right move. I don't care how bad this season was. That defense is still a championship defense. The offense has pieces. The offense has pieces. It has Elvin Kamara, has Ron Ramchick. You have a decent, offensive line when they're healthy. Receivers, Chris Olave, Rashica E will be better next year. You have Jawan Johnson at tight end. You have good weapons on offense. It's nowhere near what it needs to be to compete at a high level. But that defense is ready right now. That defense is a Super Bowl defense. It makes no sense to blow anything up at all. So he did say they have no plans to blow anything up. So hopefully that defense remain intact. Offense definitely needs some major tweaks when it comes to play calling, weapons, offensive line consistency, everything. Also, it's been some clarity on the Michael Thomas contract situation, and let me tell you this right now, he will not be playing for the Saints next season. I'll just read the tweet verbatim. It says there's also a $30 million bonus if Michael Thomas is active for 4 games next season, to go along with $31 million roster bonus that the Saints already made public. So basically, if the Saints keep Michael Thomas, it will cost them more than $60 million for him to be on this team. Now, as that contract stands, it's nowhere in the hell they're going to pay Michael Thomas $60 million to play for the Saints next year. Let's just be honest. That'll be insane. Everybody would get fired immediately. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So he'll probably get cut unless, they rework his contract so they can, try to put in a trade in there or something like that, or for him to play. He's getting cut at this moment. As the contract stands, Michael Thomas is no longer a Saint. He'll definitely be getting cut. I mean, who's going to really argue with that decision? As much as we all love MT and you can't guard Mike, you have to be able to play football if you're going to make that type of money, and he hasn't been able to stay on the field. And jumping back to Sean Payton, man, Mickey Loomis did say they will maximize, the opportunity to trade Sean Payton. I love those words. He said maximize. So basically, we want everything we can get out of Sean Payton. Obviously, he's one of the best coaches of all time. So if you want him, come and get him, and you better have your pockets ready, because it's going to definitely, cost a pretty penny to get him. And the Saints sound like they want decent compensation for him. Also, last but not least, we're going to talk about some staff changes. He basically didn't answer any questions when they, talked about if people are going to get fired, demoted, unemployed, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's looking at Pete Carmichael when it comes to this, because the offense was definitely terrible this year. Offensive coordinator has to be addressed. If Pete Carmichael comes back, I already said it. It just can't happen. Let's just put it there. It can't happen. If he gets fired, if he gets demoted, whatever happens, we'll definitely talk about some offensive coordinator hires that will be beneficial for the Saints. But as of now, he still has a job, and I don't think it's going to last. I think he will get fired, or he will get demoted, or something will happen that Pete Carmichael just not on his staff anymore, calling plays for the Saints. So we'll see how that turns out. That's probably going to happen right after the Senior Bowl and things like that. You got other guys who are getting head coaching positions. Guys are probably going to get fired from other teams and things like that. People are going to get promotions. So I think after all that plays out, the Saints will have a decision on the offensive coordinator, but it needs to happen fast, in my opinion. But you can't control time, so we'll see what happens. I got to watch the Mickey Loomis press conference in full. I only caught highlights and sound bites and things like that. So if I missed anything, I apologize. Y'all just let me know what he said in the comments below. But as always, man, thank y'all for tuning in once again. It's DaBoot Tragedies, and I'm out.